Lesson 3. This tutorial 3 will give you an idea of how to plan a product. You'll elaborate the sequence of actions you need to implement. As an example of planning, we'll use the scroller game and we'll show you how to define user interface and how the modules should interact. Let us gather the resources we need. According to the plan, which is drawn up in the last lesson, we need music, sounds, font, and different images for our game. Let's create for each type of resource its own folder for convenience. We need 4 types of music for the main menu. Namely, they are for loss, inside the game, playing, and winning. Now, we will do that. First, we make the resource. This great resource belongs to a good musician, Kevin MacLeod, who writes great music and distributes it for free on the condition that he will be mentioned in the credit titles of the commercial product where his music is used. And you do not pay royalty fees for downloading, and it is not piracy. So, let's open royalty-free music and choose a type that matches our mood. And we like, let's say we need electronic music in an action style. We open the electronics section and we can listen to any track and look for one that we like. We've spent some time looking, and we found a great track, something like, "What Do You Want?" If you want to find that one, you need to select the mood of aggression, driving, in a rock style. So now we found it, and we want to download it. So we press the blue button for download, and start downloading the track. Also, we need the track for winning. It should be an uplifting one. Here is the uplifting track in the rock style. We click the download button. We need another track for Loss in the main menu as well. Oppressive Gloom is a wonderful track for Loss, which casts sadness over the dead player. A neo-western track was also found for the main menu. yourself any track you like that will create the mood for your game and gives it a share of uniqueness. While the tracks are downloading, we move over to an audio search. We need 2 sounds when the player will be picking up a bonus and losing a life during an explosion. To search for the sounds, we go to sound.org's website. This is one of many websites that provides the possibility to download royalty-free sounds. We place the downloaded files into folders, so we do not need to look for them throughout the computer. They are New Western, Soft Hop, What Do You Want, and Pencil Boom. New Western goes for the main menu. Soft Hop is a joyful sound that goes for winning. The main track for the game we call the game track, and another track goes for loss. After we're done with the music, we can move on to the sounds. We can download the wonderful sounds from this website, where there's a search option. Let's suppose we want sound to pick something up. Picking up the handset. There is a sound to pick a coin up, something like an item pickup. It is stated in the description that here is an item pickup for a video game, so a noise will be played when it will be picked up. Perhaps that is what we need. So, we take it. In order to download the sound, an authorization is required here. But there is a little trick. When the website developers were doing this site, they did not remove the testing data. So, when we type the username and the password, the authorization is not required. We can easily download the sound we want to. Also, we need a sound for loss. You may spend some time going through the different sounds. We already found a wonderful sound that sounds like this. Yep, it is stated in the console that it is recorded from the old chip. Now we have the sound for loss and the sound for coin pickup, but we still have to create images for a state font. The main font should not be simple, like Arial, Times New Roman, or your favorite one. It must be a different style of font. Then we go to Google. There are a lot of good fonts. For example, we may go to 1001.com's website and choose the style. font is good. Let's download it and see how it works. We have sounds. Let's set the fonts. You can download and unpack it. So, we downloaded our font, unpacked it, and we got the desired file. Now, so that we can use it in our various applications, such as Photoshop, we need to connect it to the operating system. As a rule in Windows and Mac, this is done with one click. Now, let's move on to create our own images. We will need the icon images, such as in-game background, bonuses, barriers, the player's spaceship, and explosions, when the players will be colliding with our barriers, and our buttons. Title and background of the main menu. Let's start with the main menu background, title, and button. We will have the outer space and a space station as the background and at the top game title. First, we have to start looking for the resources. So, let's go to images.google.com. Why do we go to Google? Because most of us cannot draw the great outer space, space stations, ships, and shots. Let's admit, you can dream to draw something, like an X-Wing fighter from Star Wars or a battlecruiser from around the galaxy. But as soon as we take a pencil or a pad tablet, all our fantasies stay in our head. There is a second option that we can use. Namely, we can always order the resources from artist websites. It costs a lot of money though, and we do not have an extra $1 million to create the hit. So, there is always the third option, to take the free resources from the web. Let's look for some cosmic nebulas. Let's say it will be a deep space nebula. We should not choose an image that is too bright, because it'll end up drawing all of the attention. In fact, the image must always remain as the background in this case. Also, we need to try to search for the images with high resolution that allow us to set the filter. The image has some bright and dark spots. However, it does not have a large size, so we can choose the cloudiness which will fit the most. image and move it to the main menu background folder. Now we get to the space station that will be placed on the space background. Once again, we go to images.google.com and type space station, and we see many space stations. So, we choose the one that fits to our game project. Here is this picture. We also save it. Now, you can begin to create the game background. We are creating a new file in the resolution of our device. Namely, it is 1280 by 800. And drag it. It is slightly reduced, and it does not have the original size. That allows us to select the part we are interested in. Let's set it to 100%. Here, we have a background. Now, we drag the space station here. Let's assume it will be here. Then, we erase a title, because it looks better without it. In order to fit our space station into the background, we set a light type. Now, we have the space station that is fit to the background. Our image is still very light though, so let's create a separate layer. This is done with the icon below. Let's suppose we choose Hue and Center Shade. This is the color menu. We'll reduce the color saturation and brightness, so it will not be so bright, and it will not distract the player while they're reading the text. Now it's time to create the name for our game. To do this, we use the Text tool. We specify the font on the panel that will be used, which we already downloaded. Then we set the desired color, type the title, and choose the style. Now we add to our style the option of mixing. Let us make it multicolored. For example, like this. And we add to it some light outlining. Also, we add the title here and make it red. In addition, we add a small glow. To do this, we select white color and put a screen. In order to see the word intruder, we make it smaller. Now, let's take another layer and make a little illumination on the edge. In order to make a frame, we select all our images and click on Transform Selection in the menu, reducing its size up to 80%. Then, we make soft edges. So, we open Select, Mapify, Feather, and set the radius of 200 pixels. After that, we press the right button and invert the selected part outside of our circle and fill it with another color. The color is optional now. We can use the color overlay and choose any color. We chose this color, but you can choose any color you want to. Then we hold down Control and the T keys to enable transformation. And again, we hold down the Shift and T keys for even transformation, and we are increasing our image. So, we got even coloring on the edge. Well, in order to diversify the background more, and to distract a player from the object that is on the background, we can add small crosses to make the image truly captivating. To do this, we will use the color white to create the small crosses. We set the pixel type. Let's draw one cross and replicate it. Then we transform and turn it, and we get a small cross. Again, we transform it, then we reduce it to a certain size that we need, and we set the transparency to about 20%. We place a few of them on the screen. Photoshop will help us to place them. We select the layer in Photoshop, and we place them. You can lift a little bit, because it's convenient. Also, there is a possibility to reduce the transparency without it necessarily distracting us. After we are done with this, we can move on to create the buttons that will interact with our game. Now we can work with what we have. Namely, we can select all of the layers. We may place them in a smart object or in a group. And now we create a button. To create the buttons, we use the polygonal lasso tool and hold down the Shift key in order to maintain a 45-degree angle. And we draw a small element. Let's say, like this button, we cut out a small stripe to separate it, and then we fill it with white color, so it would not look like the same type. After we created this button, we open the mixing layers and make this rectangle beautiful. First, we use the filling that we have, and then we select a blue color, as we do all in blue shades. Let's make it transparent and add a small edging. Also, we try to use the colors that we have to keep the colors consistent. Next, we choose thickness size and add some inner glow to single out the edges. And with that, our buttons are ready. Our button has two states, a regular state and a pressed position. The pressed one is easy to get by adding a little glow. We choose the color of glow and the size. We try to use colors that we already have on the image. The fewer colors we have, the easier to work with, and the better quality of an image we get. Now we can do different text on these buttons. Remember that we need to specify the kind of font that we'd like, as well as the color of it. In this case, it's white. Now we can use the same button for as long as we need it. In order to do that, we need to save it as a separate image. Also, we need to finish the other one, as we do have two button states. We have a title and a background image. Now, in order to use all that in the game, we need to save them as individual elements. To do this, we convert the smart object into an individual object and a separate layer. The title will be added manually using a special program. Then we choose to make the button not illuminated and convert it into a smart object. Our task is to make it all look like a single file. To do this, we open the Smart Object main menu and use a right-click on the layer. Then we click on Duplicate Layer and indicate that we are going to copy to a new document. Next, we open our group and we get the name for our smart object. Then we save it and hold the Ctrl and S keys. Next, we close the window and duplicate the name in a separate file. Then we click on Trim to cut the white pixels out, so it does not take up too much memory. Next, we hold the Shift and Control keys to save our resources. Then, we open the image and save it. We chose the PNG format, and not the JPEG one, in order to keep the transparency of our layer. The JPEG format does not support what we need. the document. Then, we remove the title image from the background and hold the Shift and Control keys to save the background of our main menu. Now, we have two separate things, that being the background image and the title image. Next, we have to save the button states. It is necessary to clarify, as our button is used for multi-purpose functions, like for different menus and so on. Therefore, we will later discuss how to use this image in order to stretch the width and height. Our button should have an equal ratio to its size. We need to slightly decrease the size of our button so that it is not so stretched out. To do that, we open the Smart Object. Then, we choose the central part to delete it. As we work with styles, it was divided into two separate pieces. There is no need to connect the edges. We pull it, and during overlapping, they will disappear. Click on Trim and remove the empty space. It should be noted that we keep activated the auto effect and save it with this effect in a button folder. Then we turn off this effect without changing its size and save it one more time without any changes with addition off. Also, we need to remember to indicate the PNG format. We do not save the changes, but we save only the current document. Now we are done with our image for the main menu of the game. Let's move on to create an image for the inside of the gameplay. Let's assume the spaceship is flying on a background of some space station, like the Stars of Death. We will have metal surfaces, grills, and different lights on the background. All of those are made from steel. So, we go to images.google.com and look for various metal textures. We try to choose some even metal textures. And don't forget about the size. We need a bigger picture in comparison to a smaller one. We set the large size and select the image we like the most. Let's take this one. We say that the size is not quite big enough, but it will fit for us. We need a few thousand pixels at least. We can set a size that would be more than 2 megapixels. We take this image because it is illuminated well and there are no other lights and images, so we can use it and add any other glow ourselves. Then we place it in the game folder. Also, we find a couple of grills at once. We try to look for a grill that would look right on the player, and that we would not be able to place on the background. We need to find a seamless grill that we can replicate later. It will be seamless metal. The problem is that we set a large size. We will look for any size. This great grill will do the job, and it has a large size, so we save it. Then, we create a new document where we drag our image. Let's keep in mind to save the grill together with our resources. Photoshop trimmed our image to the right size, namely 34%. We can increase it to a larger size. It will be our background. This will be our grill, which sometimes will fly in the background. It should not be too large. Next, we will do some titles to make it seem like this is the space station. Let's write the word danger slightly, and then we will reduce it by a little bit. And we will try to add some lighting here. To do this, we create another layer and fill it with a gray color. This is the gray color. We can also add a light filter here. Let's say our base will be covered by the spotlights from the top. We choose the color. You can set your own parameters. In order to see our old layer, we can use a right function that makes the illumination better. If we copy it several times, then we can replicate it as much as we need. another layer so that our background layer would not seem too dark and would not distract the player. This layer is added below our spotlight layers. We can also add small lights here. To do this, we choose a round brush and set the stiffness and a small size.
To create specks of light, we open the blending options and set ingredients for the overlay. We choose a radial ingredient. Let's place it so that the light will seem like it is coming a little bit from the side. We can also change the scale and transparency, and we get a ball like this one. To create the light, we use the same method as with the illumination. We create a new layer and fill it with a gray color. Also, we move on to the creation of the rendering and lighting mix. We selected intensity parameters to make it bright and shiny, and you can select your own parameters. We use our settings and set the type of linear beam. When we move our light, we can notice that area gets brighter. In order to do this, we use a control key to cancel it, namely the Alt and Z keys. Then open New History, and in the History menu, we change the paint bucket and set ambience to keep this black color. To have a brighter speck of light, we set intensity. Also, we can select the transformation by using the Control and T keys and compress the image so that the speck of light will be narrow. Then, we will replicate the layer and do transformation by using Control and T to reflect it vertically. And these two layers will place under the light. We can add to the light a bit of an outer red glow. It would seem like a cap covers our light. We select all three layers and mix them into one group, and we will make another option. Also, they can be slightly reduced if they seem too big. We still have a lower part available. In order to fill the space with something, we will find some metal fence or structure with an edging to it.
Let's go again to images.google.com to find some fences. You can choose whatever you want to. We can also recommend you another great website, cgtextures.com, where you may find different textures. For example, let's choose the metal one. You can register on the site to download, or just drag them using your browser. In this case, we did just that. We can place them on the right layer. In order to fit it, we duplicate it several times due to the fact that we downloaded this texture from a foreign website. It will be seamless, and we can replicate it many times. As we placed it under a shading layer, we can see that it is slightly darker than is necessary. To fix this, we will do a separate layer using the blending effects. That's it. We take the color out of our background image, so it would not look different. Slightly reduce the transparency. Maybe we find some interesting elements for placement. In general, all designs are made on the same principle in the world. There are all sorts of locks and latches, and you can combine it all at your convenience. What we downloaded now is a container door, but we can make it smaller, and it may look like some other kind of door. Perhaps the grill looks kind of large, but you can reduce it. Here, everything depends on your taste, and you can do what you want to. We can stop here and save it. So, we save the image in a folder titled Main Menu. Now it is time to do the barriers, bonuses, and the player's ship. We open up Google and type spaceship icon. We see a lot of icons, but we have to choose what we like too. We liked the spaceship in the center, and its color fits to our game. But this image needs some additional work. To do this, we select a brush and cut out the spaceship. Then we select the white color. We see the remaining white pixels at the edges that we don't need, so we remove them using the menu options. We see that we got a wonderful spaceship. Now, we turn it as we need to. We can also compress it. Then, we attach a rear engine. We choose the one that is close to an orange color, using a big, soft brush. And then, we slightly stretch it. As a result, we have a great spaceship. Then, we combine the ship with the Flash in a separate group and name it as Spaceship. We move on to create a bonus icon. Let's suppose that we have a coin as the bonus. We type coin icon, and we see a large number of coins. You can select any coin you like to. We choose this one. Now we drag it into Photoshop, and we do the same with this as we did with the ship. In addition, you can make an elliptical selection and try to do the selection for the coin. You need to choose Text menu and click on Transform Selection and adjust it as you need to. Then we make one more selection for this part and remove the white color using the menu options. Alright, the white parts are selected, but we do not need them. So, we click on the Alt key and remove the selected parts. Next, we convert our coin into a smart object and reduce it to the size we want. Then we set glow for all the mixing and add the orange glow around it so that the player knows it's important and may help them. Now we add a bit of color. You can choose which one at your discretion to make it a bit like the style of the game. Let's suppose like this.
Left to do is the barriers that the player will encounter. Now we form a corridor. We create a rectangular selection and fill it with whichever color we like. So that the player can see it more easily, we put a small bright outline using the blending options. Namely, our task is to make it clear to the player that it is dangerous to collide with these. Now everything is ready, and we have to save all of this as separate files. This is so that we can use some parts separate from the others during the game. So, we use the button to click on the right layer. Then, we duplicate them into the new files. Next, we choose Image Tree in order to remove voids, and we save them as needed. We are done with that, and we don't need this file anymore. So, we just close it. Now, we'll use the same operation we did with this with the coin. We choose the coin and replicate it on a new layer. Then, we save it into a bonus folder. These bonuses will be collected by the players. The spaceship is replicated in the group. We save it in the image tree document. Also, we choose PNG because we have a transparency file. We can unmark all of our items and titles and save the rest of the background in the core game. Now all we have left is all of the resources to prepare the effect of the explosion when the spaceship crashes into the barriers. When it crashes or falls down, at this point, there should be a blast. We go to images.google.com and type explosion sprite sheet. Everything is done in a sequence of frames. These frames are expressed in sprite sheets. The game has a lot of explosions, and you can choose any you like. We chose this one. Let's drag it into Photoshop. We see a white background, but we do not need it. It has a lock, so we cannot remove it. We will have to do it manually. Let's click twice using the mouse, and the lock is gone.
So now we cover it with another layer. We select and choose the needed color, and now we have the image explosion without the background.
Place it on the game background. In order to use them in the game, we need to use the explosions in a sequence of frames. First, let's look at the size of the image that has 310 pixels. It makes about 75 pixels per one explosion. Create our slice and set the layout to 79 by 75 pixels. And 75 is not enough, so we take 77. Then we set the same slices with dimensions 77 by 79. It is important that each frame of our explosion should be in the same place. Now, we can select each piece. We may lose the ratio of angles when copying it, as Photoshop grabs the empty space. So, we use an overlaying brush and set a 1% transparency, and add a lot of small spots. We cannot see them, but they are there, and they will not allow Photoshop to remove empty corners. Let's copy it, and then we create a new document and paste it. We remove our ground from the trash and save it to the explosion folder. Let's do the same with the other two frames. We created the explosion in individual frames, so now we can use it in further development. Also, we still have to create the icon for the application in a size of 512 by 512 pixels. To do this, we take the ship and cut out a blank space, and then we rotate it so it will look up. The icon will have rectangle form.
with the width equal to the height. We also lower it a little bit.
Next, we place it on the background of the outer space from the main menu. This is done, and we see how our spaceship tends to the stars. All that we have left is to set the size of 512 by 512 pixels. We can see that our ship is a little blurry, so we use the filter, namely Sharpen Edges, to fix it. We hold the Ctrl and F keys, and the edge of the ship becomes sharper. Then we need to save it. So we choose Images, Icons, and Save as 512 by 512. As to the application, we need an icon in the size of 128 by 128 pixels. Next, we click on the image size and save it. That's it! This creation is complete. Let's move on to the next lesson whenever you're ready.